The next morning, Trump stood before the bathroom mirror in his private quarters, carefully applying what appeared to be makeup. In reality, he was activating a sophisticated prosthetic system that had been his signature for years. The orange skin wasn't vanity, it was a disguise that masked his real facial features from recognition software. His secure phone rang. "Golden Eagle, this is Falcon, we have a problem." The voice belonged to someone Trump had worked with for years but had never met in person. "Kozlov's not working alone. He's got backing from someone in the administration." Trump's blood chilled. "One of mine." "We think so. Someone with access to your schedule, your security details. The hit at the state dinner wasn't random. They know when you're vulnerable." Trump quickly ran through the list of people who knew his real identity. It was a very short list. Too short. "Falcon, I need you to run a trace on everyone with level 5 clearance, and I mean everyone already on it. But Eagle, there's something else. We intercepted chatter from Montenegro. Kozlov's not just planning to trigger the device. He's planning to frame you for it. Make it look like the President of the United States went rogue." The irony wasn't lost on Trump. After decades of playing the villain in the press, he was about to become the biggest villain in history if he didn't stop it first. That evening, Trump stood at his presidential podium announcing his sudden illness that would require him to step away from public duties for a few days. The press bought it after all. He was 78 and had been under tremendous stress. What they didn't see was Trump slipping out of the White House through a tunnel that had been constructed during the Cold War. By midnight, he was on a cargo plane headed for Europe, his official identity left behind with a body double who would maintain the illusion of his presence. The man who stepped off the plane in Montenegro wasn't the President of the United States. He was Agent 47, and he looked nothing like the figure the world knew. Gone was the elaborate disguise, the theatrical gestures, the carefully crafted persona. In its place was someone leaner, harder, with eyes that had seen too much and hands that had done what needed to be done. The warehouse sat on the cliffs overlooking the Adriatic Sea, exactly where the satellite photos had shown. Trump approached from the water, using skills he'd learned in Navy SEAL training 35 years ago. The irony that he'd avoided military service publicly while secretly serving his country in the most dangerous way possible wasn't lost on him. Inside the warehouse, Viktor Kozlov looked exactly as Trump remembered, tall, scarred, with the kind of eyes that had seen too much death. But he wasn't alone. Standing beside him, in an expensive suit that looked out of place in the industrial setting, was someone Trump recognized. "Hello, Mr. President," said Secretary of Defense James Harrison. "Surprised to see me." Trump kept his weapon trained on both men. "I should have known. You always were too ambitious for your own good." Jim Harrison laughed. "Ambitious? I'm trying to save the world. Do you have any idea what you've done? 30 years of pretending to be an idiot, and for what? The country's more divided than ever. Democracy is hanging by a thread, and half the world thinks we're a joke. So you decided to end it all. I decided to give America a reset. A few coastal cities get hit, millions die, and suddenly we're united again. United under martial law, under a government that can actually get things done." Kozlov spoke for the first time. "Your country betrayed me, cost me 20 years of my life. This is justice." Trump looked at the nuclear device, smaller than he'd expected, but he knew enough about nuclear engineering to recognize its potential. "You're both insane." "Maybe," Harrison said, "but we're also right. And in about 10 minutes, when the device goes off, the world will remember why America needs to be feared." The assassin's bullet whistled past Donald Trump's ear, shattering the champagne glass in his hand. As Secret Service agents rushed toward him, Trump didn't flinch. Instead, he smiled. After 30 years of deep cover, someone had finally figured out who he really was. "Mr. President, we need to move you to safety," Agent Martinez shouted over the chaos of the White House state dinner. Trump straightened his tie and looked directly at the sniper's nest across the south lawn. "Not yet, Agent Martinez. The show must go on." What the world didn't know was that Donald J. Trump had never been just a businessman or politician. He was Agent 47, the CIA's most successful deep-cover operative. And tonight, his biggest mission was about to begin. The red phone in his pocket buzzed 3 times the signal he'd been waiting for since 1987. 30 minutes later, Trump stood in the Lincoln bedroom, but he wasn't alone. A woman in her 60s, dressed in a simple black suit, materialized from behind the heavy curtains. To the world, she was known as Margaret Chen, a mid-level State Department official. To Trump, she was Shadowbird, his handler for 3 decades. "You're blown, Golden Eagle," she said without preamble. "Moscow knows. Beijing knows. Hell, even the Swiss are asking questions." Trump poured himself a Diet Coke from the mini-fridge. "How long do we have?" 72 hours before they come for you. "But there's more." She slid a tablet across the desk. "Project Blackwater. Remember that arms dealer you helped us track in 1995? Viktor Kozlov, the Russian. We put him away for 20 years. He's out, and he's got something that could end civilization as we know it." The tablet showed satellite images of a warehouse in Montenegro. Trump's trained eye immediately spotted the heat signatures, dozens of people, heavy equipment, and something else that made his blood run cold. "Is that what I think it is?" he asked. "A nuclear device. But not just any nuke. This one's designed to trigger a chain reaction that could destabilize the entire Atlantic ridge. Think massive tsunamis, earthquakes, the works." Trump set down his drink. The playful businessman persona melted away completely, replaced by the cold, calculating operative he'd always been. "What's the mission?" "Stop him by any means necessary." "But Trump Donald, do you have to do this alone? The agency can't officially support you. If you're caught, you never existed." Asterisk as Trump walked back to the Oval Office, his mind raced through the past 40 years. Every business deal, every reality TV show, every political ralliet had all been part of the longest con in CIA history, the casinos in Atlantic City. Perfect money laundering fronts to track illegal arms sales. The Miss Universe pageants. Ideal cover for international intelligence gathering. Even his presidency had been orchestrated to get him close to world leaders, who trusted him as a fellow egomaniac. His phone buzzed. A text from his son Don Jr. "Dad saw the news about the incident at dinner. You okay?" Trump stared at the message. His family had no idea. They thought he was just ... Dad, the successful businessman who'd stumbled into politics. They didn't know about the 17 languages he spoke fluently, the black belt in 3 different martial arts, or the fact that he'd personally prevented 4 international incidents in the past decade. He typed back, "All good, son. Just politics as usual." But nothing about this was usual. In his desk drawer, hidden behind a false panel, Trump kept his real tools. Not Twitter and executive orders, but encrypted communicators, false passports, and a Glock 19 that had saved his life more times than he could count. Trump had 10 minutes to save millions of lives, but he had a problem. The device was armed, and both Harrison and Kozlov had deadman switches. If he killed them, the bomb would detonate immediately. If he tried to disarm the bomb, they'd trigger it manually. Unless... "Jim, you said you wanted to save America. What if I told you there was another way?" Harrison's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about? What if the great Donald Trump simply disappeared? What if the president died a hero trying to stop a terrorist attack? Think about it. No more division, no more chaos, just a martyred leader and a country united in grief." For a moment, Harrison looked intrigued. That moment was all Trump needed. He'd spent 30 years perfecting the art of misdirection. While Harrison was considering the political implications, Trump was already moving. The throwing knife, a skill he'd learned from a Tibetan monk in 1992, caught Kozlov in the throat before the Russian could react. But Harrison was faster than Trump had anticipated. The Secretary of Defense had his own training, his own secrets. The shot that caught Trump in the shoulder spun him around, but didn't stop him. The fight that followed was brutal and quick. 2 men who had spent their lives in the shadows, finally facing each other in the light. When it ended, Harrison lay unconscious, and Trump was bleeding from 3 different wounds, but he had both deadman switches. Asterisk with 5 minutes left on the timer, Trump looked at the nuclear device. His fingers flew over the keypad, inputting codes he'd memorized 20 years ago during a classified briefing on Soviet nuclear technology. But something was wrong. The device wasn't responding to standard disarmament protocols. His secure phone buzzed. A text from Shadowbird. "Facial recognition shows you're at the target. Are you clear?" Trump looked at the device, then at the unconscious Harrison, then at the dead Kozlov. Through the warehouse windows, he could see the lights of Dubrovnik in the distance. Millions of innocent people, going about their lives, unaware that their world was about to change forever. He typed back, "Negative, still working on it," but he knew the truth. The device was designed to be untamperable. Kozlov had been too smart, too careful. There was only one way to stop it now. Trump pulled out his phone and started recording a message. "My fellow Americans, if you're watching this, then I'm already gone. My name is Donald J. Trump, and for the past 30 years, I've been living a lie. I wasn't a businessman who became a politician. I was a CIA operative who became whatever my country needed me to be." Asterisk the video message continued. "I know what you're thinking. The man you love to hate, the man you thought was destroying America, was actually trying to save it. Every controversy, every tweet, every seemingly crazy decision, it was all part of the longest undercover operation in CIA history." Trump paused, looking directly into the camera. "I spent my life being the villain so that better people could be the heroes. I let myself be hated so that America could remember what it stood for. And now, in these final moments, I want you to know that every insult, every lie, every moment of pain I caused was because I believed in something bigger than myself." The timer showed 90 seconds. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be remembered as a hero. I'm asking you to remember that sometimes the greatest service requires the greatest sacrifice. And sometimes, the people you hate, that most are the ones who love you enough to let you hate them." 60 seconds. "Tell my family I'm sorry. Tell them I loved them more than they'll ever know. And tell America that Donald Trump died the way he lived, serving his country, even when his country didn't know it needed serving." 30 seconds. Trump ended the recording and sent it to Shadowbird with instructions to release it only if the bomb detonated. Then he did something he hadn't done in 30 years. He prayed. With 10 seconds left on the timer, Trump's phone rang. Not his secure line, his personal phone. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize, but the voice was familiar. Golden Eagle. This is Mockingbird. Step away from the device. Trump's heart stopped. Mockingbird was a code name from the 1980s, from his first mission. Someone who was supposed to be dead. Who is this? Someone who's been watching you for 30 years. Someone who knew this day would come. Look up. Trump looked up to see a figure rappelling through the warehouse skylight. The woman who landed in front of him was in her 50s, dressed in tactical gear, with the kind of scars that came from a lifetime of fighting. Agent Sarah Chen, she said, removing her helmet. Shadowbird's daughter, and the person who's been watching your back since 1987. She moved to the device with practiced efficiency, pulling tools from her belt that Trump didn't recognize. This isn't Soviet tech, she said as she worked. It's American. Harrison built it using our own specifications. Can you disarm it better? I can redirect it. With 3 seconds left on the timer, Sarah inserted a small device into the bomb's core. The countdown stopped. Where did you redirect it? Trump asked. Sarah smiled. About 2 miles straight down. The ocean floor can handle the blast. The fish won't be happy, but the world will survive. 3 days later, President Donald Trump returned to Washington, officially recovered from his illness. The world never knew how close it had come to ending. Harrison was quietly arrested on charges of treason and espionage. Kozlov was buried in an unmarked grave in Montenegro, but Trump knew his days as Golden Eagle were over. Too many people knew the truth now. Too many secrets had been exposed. Standing in the Oval Office, he looked at the resignation letter he'd been writing. After 30 years of service, maybe it was time to be just Donald Trump, not the businessman, not the president, not the operative. Just a man who had done what needed to be done. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah Chen. New mission briefing. Tomorrow. Same time, same place. The world's still dangerous, and America still needs its Golden Eagle. Trump looked at the message, then at his resignation letter, then at the American flag hanging beside his desk. He crumpled up the letter and threw it in the trash. After all, some people were born to serve, even when the world never knew they were serving, even when the world hated them for it. The end. Author's note. This story is a work of pure fiction, created for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real events or persons is purely coincidental. The story explores themes of sacrifice, duty, and the complex nature of heroism in a thriller format.